You ever been tired? I mean, so tired that it makes you sort of overperform and overanalyze everything, and then, that leads you to making mistakes, which leads you to further overanalyze, and then you go into what I like to call the death spiral, and that leads to, you know, where you burn your job to the ground and kill everyone inside, and then, yourself as well, because you're completely burnt out. What's going on, Dungeon Dwellers? Welcome back to Dave's Dungeon. I am, as always, the one, the only, Dungeon Master Dave. Here today to talk to you about The Menu, a new film from 2022. Now, I'm a little behind schedule, so I'm not going to talk too much about this in the beginning. This is a Searchlight TSG entertainment film put out by director Mark Mylod and writers Will Tracy and Seth Reese. It is, it's a little longer, so we're going to jump right into the body count, but we will have a gory details section on this one because, as I said in the intro sort of riff, this is a story about burnout. This is a story about artistic expression versus what I would call societal atrophy. So let's get to the body count. We have one invitation to the audience opening title card. Yes, you are cordially invited. 1, you shouldn't smoke, it'll kill your palate quote from Tyler, because his bullshit starts early. 1 math problem. What is 12 times $12,500 a night per month? I think someone hasn't done the math and is losing money on their business. But, depending on food costs, as long as it's not that much more, it shouldn't be that big a problem, right? Yeah, I think the whole concept may have been ill-conceived. But we don't have a Gordon Ramsay to ask. 1 private yacht to private island paradise getaway you'll want to escape from before the end of the event. 1 real Who's Who event, all on Tyler's dime. And oh my God, it's Lily in Bloom. They try to play I will say this is a weird point in the movie because I don't think Lillian Bloom's an actual person. Of course she's not. She's just a character in the movie. But at the same time, you're supposed to know this is some hoity-toity film critic, but this is your stand-in. Oh, I'm going to get you one day. 1 group of power tasters. Not quite wasted by the amuse-bouche, but will be by the end of dinner. 1 Hawthorne, one of the fanciest restaurants ever to not exist. And I mean, just when you finally see it, it is breathtaking. But at the same time, I'm sure there are fancier restaurants out there somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I don't know. It's probably something. 1 really bad joke from the introduction of John Leguizamo about a boat. Is she seaworthy? 1 oyster foam with lemon algae pearls. Yeah, we start off strong with the is this food or is this some sort of conceptualized art that leads to a rather uncomfortable conversation about mouthfeel. I still don't like that he said it. 1 scenic shot of the island, which I've heard tell might be off the coast of Carolina, might be off the coast of Savannah, Georgia, or might be off the coast of my backyard here in the Alabama Gulf Coast area. So I'm not sure where it is. I haven't been able to locate that specifically, but yeah, you can tell this isn't like somewhere they intended to shoot, but at the same time, It works. It works. They look isolated enough, and once you're in the restaurant, it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't look like there's a freeway or an overpass right there. They don't, I promise. When I never went to prom, well, fuck those bitches. Quote, sob story about how Tyler was disadvantaged in his teen years. Never mind, he's rolling up in like $1 million suit, riding a yacht, gonna eat $12,000 worth of food. One very, very, very exclusive guest list that Margot Mills, our actual protagonist, isn't on. One, why is the boat leaving scene? And I mean, for someone who's watching this and going, aren't they gonna have to leave back on the boat? And like, doesn't everybody know that? And then it's like, why doesn't anyone else question this but Margot? Yeah, there's something to this. I'm not sure about it, but I don't know exactly. I just think there's something going on here. One hot hors d'oeuvre of bullshit mountain kissassery. And hot spelled H-A-U-T-E. By the way, if you don't know how to spell hors d'oeuvre, it's H-O-R-S space D'-O-E-U-V-R-E-S. Hors d'oeuvre. Which is just a fancy way of order. So if you think about it, hot order. I hate having to explain a joke because it's in French or some sort of Latin. I don't know. I don't know what language that is. Don't at me. One island tour named after the restaurant, or is the restaurant named after the island? I'm not sure. They're on Hawthorne Island, supposedly. One from boat to table, so you know it's fresh because you saw it 5 minutes ago. And I mean, from this moment on, you are on what I would call a visual feast. It's you start from seeing the crabs, to seeing the produce, to seeing the livestock, to seeing just sort of what's available here on Hawthorne Island. And it is, I would say it's almost like visual eating. One smoke shack meat hut full of 152-day-old meat, because they like to age their meat for a certain amount of time. We'll call this an important place within the structure of the area, because we're also given in that same little scene a scary story about what happens when you serve the meat after 153 days. Yeah. And we're going to call this Chekhov's hamburger. If you know, you know. We're going to call this Chekhov's hamburger, because they only use dairy cow for all of their meat. We're going to call this Chekhov's hamburger. One chef corps that lives on the island, but burns nothing unless they intend to. One, no one is allowed in the castle of the Lord High Emperor of Sustenance. And I mean, that was just too clever not to win. One, assembly of the amuse-bouche, which I gotta say, that first dish lets you know what kind of a visual feast is what I'm talking about. The dish itself looks pretty. The presentation is out of this world, just next level. You have like things you would never see anywhere, and things I have never seen in any kind of capacity at all. You know, I don't know what a Paco jet is, and I don't think the average watcher does, but at the same time, you get a sense of spectacle with this. Then, is that a Paco jet? Question. Tyler is a douche and photographs his food as well, which you'll see doesn't go well. One, we like to know everyone who dines with us, Mr. Ledford, or Lyford. Quote. And this is one of those things of like, even Margot calls out Tyler on this of like, I see you didn't ask his name. They sure know Tyler's last name though. One, why don't you take your seats? We're about to serve. Build up. Because even from that moment, you get the sense that something's not right. Because immediately, chef comes in and we all take a moment. One, is he looking at me? Is he looking at you? Notice me, senpai! Tyler, having a moment. One, arts and crafts amuse-bouche is served. 14 orbs surrounded by a ring of milk snow and charred lace. Spoiling the last kill teaser. Yeah. You got some Midsommar. If you know about Midsommar, you got some of that action going here. In the film Midsommar, if you're looking at the walls and you can in any way sort of translate pictograph, you can read the film on the wall and it tells you what's going on. I think there is a certain level of this orange and green balls that tells you who's in on it and who's not, and who's all supposed to die and who's not. Because remember, everything is done for a reason, for a purpose. So I think there's more to this amuse than you initially take in. There's something to the charred lace and the milk snow that has a little goat in it, a little funk. Speaking of which, the foodie group is here and calls it a plague of dinner snow. And I have to say, where is serving dinner snow? I would love to have dinner snow. One, eating a little kid. Because the funniest thing about this is they're trying to say it tastes funky, but then it's sort of a joke on the rich are eating children. One, Amy Carrero as the famous actor's assistant. I love that girl. She's awesome. Shout out to Amy. Because if you've ever seen her on Critical Role, yes, same Amy. One, me and Amanda are not good. Well, at least we got work and money. Quote. The douchebag party of Power Tasters is, of course, sold. Because I don't know too many people in this film who don't, in one way or another, kind of get what's coming to them. But at the same time, something's going on in the background of this film, and I'll argue you want to pay real close attention to that. One, is it okay I'm not as into this as you are conversation that will make you feel sick, because I gotta say this, it's almost like gaslighting. It's really uncomfortable, the sort of levels of, well, I'm not quite as into this as you are. Is it okay? And just levels of trying to get her to, be part of it, and it gets into a place of control, and it gets into a place of who bought it and who didn't, and I'm just left. It is going to make you feel icky. It is going to make you feel icky. One, shitting on one person's art while trying to praise another. Tyler's wild food mood about what constitute art worth caring about and what chefs are doing and how they're playing with life and death, which, I mean, okay, Tyler's bullshit is a little thick sometimes. One, knowing when something is perfectly unripe, quote. And I went back and rewatched it to make sure that that was what it was supposed to be, was perfectly unripe. And it just leads me to question, aren't you supposed to know when it's ripe? Like, who gives a shit if you know when it's unripe? We want to know when it's ripe. So the skill that Tyler is valuing isn't even I don't understand. It's one of those things of like, understanding something's unripe. I mean, it's unripe all the time. You can't eat it. Help me make it make sense. One, art on the edge of the abyss, and it's like, well, isn't all art done out there? I mean, we're all sort of chained to the existential dread of dying. Foreshadowing, though, quote, because the restaurant is kind of on the edge of like a flat place that like fills up with water. So I guess they are eating on the edge of an abyss right there, because you can see it behind Tyler. So there's a bit of foreshadowing there. One, pensive, okay. That is the last check needed before the dinner and the first course actually begins. When if you're hungry and you know it, clap your hands. One first course introduction by a chef Julian Slowick that would put most off of their appetites. One, do not eat. Our menu is too precious for that. Quote, that it sort of goes to what Margot says at the end of, why are we here spending $1,200 if we're not gonna eat? Like, don't eat, taste, savor, reflect, and then forgive. And it's like, for what? What am I forgiving you for? For not feeding me? One, Tyler, who decides, I'm still going to break the rules, but I would like Senpai to notice me, please. One, now show me your woe face for this stupid travelogue show you want to do. Because Amy and John Leguizamo have to riff for a little while, and I have to say, the show doesn't sound bad, but you have to do better than that, because it sounds like a worse version of Drivers, Dine-Ins, and Drives. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You know, the show he's talking about sounds worse than Guy Fieri on his worst day. I mean, absolutely no. One, faking an orgasm while eating cheese that every person in the room basically went, ooh, no. Ooh, no. No, no. Well, nobody wants that. Nobody actually wants to see you do that. One, my chef makes better food at home than this conversation between the frat boys, that they might want to have had a little quieter than that. One, I can't look that way scene, because the hooker that looks like my daughter came to the restaurant tonight. And I gotta say, it's a little bit of a icky, weird plot point, but you'll see down the road where I think this is the clue that gives away sort of who's in contact and who isn't. One, he wants plating in 5. The dinner begins to progress on its own, because he wants what would be counting down from 6 courses, 5th course in 5 minutes. Second course plating, is he going to clap every time? Noticing the tension set in, because, I mean, I don't know that I would want to eat there. One, bread is the food of the common man, so you get no bread. Quote, no bread for you. Some sort of bread Nazi. One, yo, if you sneak me a basket of the King's Hawaiian, I will slip you a grand. Because they try to negotiate. Seriously, I don't blame them. I know a lot of people that would have been like, I need a dinner roll, man. Just slide me a roll. One, broken emulsion that you shouldn't see at a restaurant of this level. Yes, because they get pissy about the bread. One, mansplaining the idea of a concept. Because, I mean, literally, she has to say to him, I know what a concept is, Tyler. I mean, she doesn't get high concept food, but she kind of does at the same time. She's just not impressed by it. One, Mr. Bloom receives a replacement broken emulsion from the one earlier, larger for easier inspection this time. One, Margot tells Tyler no, and he does not like that. Or no, it's not Margot. It's this is the frat boys. One, the waitress tells the entire table no, and they do not like that. Quote, that will be all. Dismissal. And then the fire back. You will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve. I mean, I wish restaurants and actual wait staff could actually say stuff like that. Of like, man, if you don't quit harshing me, you gonna eat dirt. One, Tyler, though, decides to cause a scene because Margot won't eat her gelatins. And so does Slowick. And it's a weird sort of who's not in on this and who's in on this kind of situation. Because things start to pull apart here. Around Margot. One, you don't have to be so fucking rude. Tyler on that BS shit again. One, saying hi to your mom because you're a good son. Build up. One, plating the third course in 3 minutes. Symmetry in the even courses and timing. Because of course it is. And that's why I'm saying, and I will say again in the gory details, there's more going on in the background of this film than any of us caught the first time through. And probably second, third, and fourth. It took me a bunch of watches to finally, like, what is going on in the sort of form and function of this film? One, if you're hungry and you know it, clap your hands. If you're hungry and you know it, clap your hands. Yo, we're eating a taco recreation of that one time the chef Slowick had to stab his own father. Yeah, if you pay attention, each course as we go along illustrates something about the night. And so this one's supposed to illustrate the story about Taco Tuesday, but then you get more. One, excuse me, why are our financial crimes printed on these tacos? Tacos deliciosa. One, chef's secret recipes contain actual secrets. Enjoy. One fucking taco that will probably hold up in court because it's actual evidence. One, Tyler snaps at Margot and calls her a fucking child. Because he is the one paying for it. Blah. I mean, just Tyler's bullshit in full swing. And it's the worst excuse of, like, you need to do what I say because I'm the one covering the bill. So I can treat you like garbage scene. One, Margot decides to go have a smoke in the ladies' room and gets interrogated by the chef. Because it's not bad enough that your date is being an asshole. Now you got to take shit off the chef. One, plating of the fourth course gets off to a bang. Literally. Rip Jeremy Loudon. Which, I gotta say, the little hints, the little details, the little funny ha-has that they put in there as like a, I don't know, their style or their sort of tags, just mwah. It's exactly what makes this Michelin level horror instead of your just general levels. If there was such a thing. One Chef Julian Slowick monologue about the mess of living. One messy single serving, no encores, because again, rip Jeremy. Because if you think about it, this is the most exclusive food you could eat. Food that'll never be prepared again. One Tyler totally didn't see that coming quote that sorts of start to give away the secrets in the back. One all part of a show exclusive experience that I would love to attend if it wasn't for the fact that it is not a experience. Quote, this is all part of the menu. They said the name. They said the name. We can all go home, wrap it up. They said the name. One eat that said with some force. And it's like, Jesus, you don't have to shout. One Mr. Lee Brandt gets a close demonstration of the chef's knife skills. One returning the finger and the wedding ring separately. One group of foodies absolutely loving the show, and think it's all for them, because of course they do, because everybody here thinks they're special. One chef wants to talk to Margot in the kitchen, and Tyler gets angry again. One Margot isn't part of the plan, and chef thinks it's spoiling everything. One, oh, we're all gonna die tonight, no exceptions, and the menu is strictly timed, quotes. One, knocking the shit out of Tyler. Finally, this was probably the worst date I think anyone could have taken anybody on, and just, he deserved that. And he even was like, protein or veg, and it's like, mah. One tea palette cleanser freak out with a chair that's no use. And I mean this with all honesty. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a window. Nowadays, you don't have any clue how you would get in and out of a place, and your strategy for exit may be blocked. You have no way of getting through it because you have no know-how and no knowledge of what this place is and how it works. One 15-minute decision that's not really ever allowed, because they give her the timer and they give her the pressure situation, but she never really gets to make that decision. One, are there any questions? Is this bergamot? Yes, because even the chef gets tired of Tyler's bullshit. One explanation of what a degustation concept is while being in a degustation concept. One, you should all know where you are, and you should all know why you're here, because there are no heroes seen. One more extra large emulsion this time because of the inconvenience from the first one. One couple that's been to the Hawthorne 11 times and doesn't remember a single dish. Oof. And I gotta ask, is this the Lee Brandts? Are they just too gone and in their own headspace to get it? Or Is this the chef? Is he not cooking food that's worth remembering? Yeah, because like Margot said, no, you don't cook with heart, you cook with obsession. One, it wasn't cod, you donkey quote. And I mean, that is, if you were waiting on a Gordon Ramsay shout out, I think that was it. I think that's the one or two that you get. One, what does it matter? It matters to the halibut you ate and to the artist whose work that turns to shit in your guts, quote. And this is where we'll get into this deeper in the gory details. And I know it's a long video, this long movie with a lot of stuff to it, because I still got 2 pages to go of notes. One fool not trying to satisfy the ungrateful anymore. Angel ends up going for a swim. One silence that finally answers all the chef's problems. Help if I enunciate and finish my words. One, you're one of us, the shit shovelers, not a choice, because the chef determines that Margot is some sort of worker. Yeah, I think you know what kind of worker. Especially after Chef starts talking about, so you and Mr. Liebrandt, what's going on there? Very awkward conversation. I don't know that I would want to have told him about that either. One, Slowick finally admits he hasn't enjoyed cooking for many years. Plea for help to Margot. One, clearing of the bad blood with the sous chef, Catherine Keller. One, in the spirit of fairness, here's your one chance to escape. One loser gets a special chicken dessert, while the girls all get to eat super salty, sour seafoam soup. Because umeboshi is super sour and salty, and then the salt and then everything else, that would have made your whole face pucker up. And if I ever meet Amy, I want to ask her about what that tasted like, if she actually ate it, because it supposedly had crab in it, but that wouldn't be enough to save that dish. One, trying to flatter your way out of death. It's the emoji for me quote. Amy, I'm looking at you. It was the cutest thing. I swear to God, I died laughing the second I heard it was the emoji for me. One, so you know my husband, question from Miss Liebrandt, with a resounding, yeah, right, quote. Because the two ladies decide to have a heart-to-heart and come to an understanding. And Miss Liebrandt is not pleased. One, it doesn't work if you all live, and killing all of you was my pitch, quotes. I'm super proud of it. One, Margot tells everyone her real name is Erin, which I gotta question whether that's real or not. And she tells them where she's from. One, she knows Mr. Liebrandt's scene. She knows. One, Tyler gets a chance to also tell the truth because he knows. And he knows a lot more than Mr. Liebrandt. I don't know if he knows more than Mrs. Liebrandt, but he knows more than Mr. Liebrandt. And he knew Margot was going to die. Yeah, that's the big oof. One, and he brought her to die scene. Why? Because there's no table for one. Again, you'd hit him too. One, Tyler finally gets his chance to be noticed by Chef Slowick. Cooks belong in the kitchen, quote. Ee-doo-bee-doo-bee-doo. One Tyler's greatest creation, a moment of sheer embarrassment and humiliation, culminating in the production of a massive pile of bullshit, of uncooked raw lamb and shallots. Scallops? No, shallots. For some of y'all don't know what a shallot is. It's like an onion, but expensive. And leeks. Because, wow, so inventive. One quote, maybe the Paco Jet can help. Call back, because even Chef knows he was bragging about the Paco Jet. One, Margot is free now too, quote. Tyler takes care of the problem. One more course to go, and Elsa gets blamed for it not being ready. When Margot is now one of us, and needs to go to the smokehouse. One, you're dying because your movie ruined my one day off, quote. I mean, just, and that follows this, the most scathing quote, I think, in the movie of, yeah, you ruined my worst day off. And it's because to watch an artist lose their purpose and to see you in such a place of you know, status, lose everything it was about you that made you a hungry artist still haunts me to this day. And it's like, damn, I know The Pest was bad, but I didn't think it was that bad. I'm sorry, John. I had to riff it. I had to. Yeah, that's it. I can't do it. I'm going to stop. One, student loans. No. Then you're dying. I'm sorry. Quote. One, Margot actually gets to use the Paco Jet, but not as they intended. On Elsa. Made her eat snow in the end before, she let her go. One, calling for help on the radio, but of course we know how that song and dance goes. One, seeing a younger and happier Slowick, though, on the walls, cooking a burger, flipping them. One, here's your barrel, badass good girl moment. Because, I mean, she came in there with a strut at first. I just, foot on the barrel, just boom, 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 boom. One, singing happy birthday to Bryce. One last time joke. One, I am a monster quote from Slowick with a demonstration of what it means to have asbestos hands. One, did he just quote MLK? I mean, he is demanding his freedoms, and he is quoting MLK, but it's sort of from a weird position, and we'll talk about it a little bit. One, Margot finally stands up for herself and tells the chef what she thinks of his food. One, special kitchen course. Turns out it was protein. One, real traditional American hamburger with fries that looks to die for. To go. And one final dessert at the Hawthorne, an attempt at setting the world record for the largest human s'more in creation. AKA, quote, the worst sin of cooking. And finally, one last bite of the most delicious burger ever seen on film. I have to say, I give this film 4 skulls. Dave says, go see it. And now I warn you, for those of you who are not used to a subtle film, or a film who is not like smacking you over the head with the sort of context of everything, you may rate this film lower because it's going to be slow. You're not going to know what's going on. It's going to have all these little details that you don't care about. You're here for the murders. You're here for the give me what I'm here for renaissance of all the gore. But I have to warn you, pay attention to this film because there's stuff going on in the background. There's relationships between people you're not paying attention to. And there's the question of, if Tyler knew and brought somebody here just so that he could experience the dinner, who else brought somebody knowing for certain that this dinner was going to go wrong? And I have a list of the ones that I think, because with the way the diagram on the amuse-bouche sets up, it makes me think there are at least one per table, basically, one per group of the people who wanted to kill somebody and brought them there that night to die. But we'll talk about that in a second in the spoiler section. So for those of you who don't want to be spoiled, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's going to be a longer one. We're already at 40 minutes, but I can't do anything about that. This movie was like 2 hours long, so there's like tons of stuff to still talk about in this movie, and there's still tons of details that you need to take in and ruminate on. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you leave a like and make sure you subscribe for more. Run away. Go get you a table. Go watch this film and come back, because the gory details that I want to talk about are going to be, we'll get into it. So, happy birthday from me to you. Happy birthday. Now shoo, 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 shoo. Alright, so this film had everything. And MVPs, oh shit. Anyways, I don't want to give MVPs. Everybody in this film deserves an MVP. I mean, Ralph Fiennes, Anna Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Hong Chow, Amy Carrero, John Leguizamo, the bit actors here and there. I mean, all of them deserve MVP awards. But this film goes a lot towards, who do artists work for versus who do they owe? And you look at the chef and you go, well, he's bought and paid for by this guy, and the restaurant's paid for by this guy, and all this stuff. And you go, well, he owes that guy. And you go, well, no, maybe for part of it, but he's riding on the same success that the chef is creating and putting in their lives and designing amongst them. And then you get to, whose responsibility is it to pay? And you get down to, well, how much does the artist owe for the world inspiring them and all of this other stuff, the setup, the place, the tools to get there? And it just comes down to, as an artist myself, well, how much do I owe the world my art? And the answer is not at all. If anything, I create the art for me, and it's when we get outside of that this becomes a problem. That, as one of the guys in the power tasting group asked, don't you ever get burnt out? And it's like, yeah, they do, when they're not doing what their art calls them to do for themselves. You know, it's like when your art is making food for other people, I can tell exactly why you would get burnt out. It's because, just as Slowick says, you know, you're making food for the ungrateful and for those who can't be made grateful, for those who can't be satisfied. And as an artist, that is, on the one hand, an infinite hunger, so you're always driven, but it's draining ultimately. You're never going to get to where you feel comfortable in the art and in the creation of the art. So I get why Jeremy felt drained and like he didn't want the life. And even as a young artist in the talent, he was already feeling and the sort of pressures of everything was setting in. So you get to the idea of this is sort of in a powder keg that's been ready to blow for a while. And so you got to ask yourself the question, who knew? I get the sense that the chef was planning on one final dinner and offered it as an exclusive to people who was told the theme of the dinner will be you die afterward. You don't have to keep doing this afterwards. And they thought it was just a funny haha. Maybe in the case of some of them, unlike Tyler, who was told for 6 months that everybody was going to die. And I think this goes to the question of who dies in the end. Does Margot die? And I think the answer there is yes, because it comes down to she ate that hamburger a little too close to 153 days later. And that's why he let her go. That's why he let her eat the hamburger, is because he knew she would die anyway. But my question is, if Tyler was in on it, and that's how he got rid of Margot, and she died because she ate the hamburger, who else was in on it? And I think I know, and that's why I saved it for here, because I think John Leguizamo was in on it. He wanted to kill Amy's character for leaving him to go to the production studio and stealing the money. I think one of the Power Bros, the one that knew it was pointless to leave, and the one who was kind of defeated the whole time he was there and sad, and it ends up being his birthday, Bryce. He's the one who brought them. Or no, the one who told him it was his birthday brought them. So again, you can go from there. Mrs. Leibrandt brought Mr. Leibrandt because she may not have known for certain, but she knew pretty sure who, maybe not who, but what he was doing. And yeah. Then you have the foodies, and I have to say, you know who brought who in the foodies, because it's on the paper. Yeah, definitely is on the paper. Yeah, the sort of assistant brings the chief foodie. So, and it gets down to, that's why nobody fought but Margot, because they were all there for a reason. They thought they were getting rid of their significant others and being offered a way to do that. And turns out, no, we're getting rid of everyone tonight, sweethearts. I've seen some people asking online, do I think that Margot was the secret assistant, the actual, like, who's an employee that was actually an employee? Because they do it once with the, sort of Coast Guard guy of like, this guy's from the outside and he comes in and turns out, nope, Chuck Testa, he works for this place, for Hawthorne. But I don't know how Margot could sell that she didn't know what was going on if she knew what was going on. You know what I mean? She legitimately was fighting her way through that evening, and legitimately was. Now, I'll say she took out Elsa pretty quick, but it sort of, I don't think it matches up that she knew. But the final thing I want to talk about here a little bit is the sort of juxtaposition between the ideal of artistry, which is to create and express ourselves, versus the sort of utility that goes into the art of eating. And I gotta say, this sort of juxtaposition between the purpose and the function really goes to show you the sort of technical dangers in our modern society and why horror has had to change, because what's horrifying to us now is not what would have been horrifying to anyone even 10 years ago, even 5, because we've started to hit these existential threats, these sort of, you don't see them coming until it's too late, where the forces at work in the world can ask you for too much, and just the asking can be a force all on its own, and that force can tear your life to pieces, which is why there's this huge movement of like self-care going on now, because we haven't been doing it. The forces have been driving us to unhealthy levels, and now we're in a state of trying to fight against that. So this gets down or back down to that question, and what I think the ultimate question of the movie is, who's the art for? Is it for the eater or for the cook? In my line of work, it's who's the art for? Is it for the writer or for the reader? Do I matter, or is it the people who want to read this story? And I think it's a little bit of an oxymoronic answer to say that that my part in all of this matters the most. I, as a writer, because I'm not the person who it's for in the end, even though I'm the one who ultimately wanted to tell the story, and it's my story in the end. It's to be read, and in the case of this movie, to be eaten. So it's like, while that's the case, the preference style, the sort of setup and choice, is all the artists. So it's a prepared experience, but it's not meant for the person who put it together, which ultimately makes this a weird sort of existential threat of how do I know what's good and what needs to be in a thing and what is the thing itself versus what's just the window dressing and what's just the fluff and what's just the, sort of faffing about, so to speak, of it all. So I think this movie really is worth your time. I think it's worth considering. I think it's worth watching a few times if you got the time to. But it's a subtle one, and so it got whacked a little, and initially I wasn't going to show it at all, because I was just like, what the hell is all this? But then I dived in it and swam through it and was like, oh, okay, this has got some stuff to it. So make sure you put your eyeballs on this. But that's going to do it for this review, Dungeon Dwellers. I hope you guys are enjoying it. You guys have been blowing them up, and I really appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell so you know when I drop new stuff, Dungeon Dwellers. But that's going to do it for these journeys. I hope to see you on our next adventures. The next thing we're talking about is the Deadly Spawn, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what's scheduled next. No. It's Deadstream, followed by the Deadly Spawn. Yeah, so next thing will be paranormal in nature. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you on our next adventures. But until then, you are cordially invited, I don't know, to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because food should feed you.